Today, we're about to unpack something that literally broke the internet. I'm talking about that viral video. You know the one, where Emmanuel Macron's wife literally slapped him in the face at an airport. But hold up. Before you think this is just another celebrity drama breakdown, let me tell you right now that this story goes so much deeper than what you saw on TikTok. We're talking conspiracy theories that'll make your head spin, relationship drama that's been brewing for decades, and some seriously wild allegations that have literally ended up in courtrooms. I've been researching this story for weeks now, and let me tell you, every time I thought I'd reach the bottom of this rabbit hole, I found another level that was even crazier. We're going to cover everything from the viral moment itself to the bizarre love story that started it all. It's May 25, 2025, and we're in Hanoi, Vietnam. President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte are on some official presidential business. They're stepping off Air Force One, or whatever the French equivalent is called, and everything seems totally normal. Cameras are rolling because, hello, it's the President of France, and it's just another day in the life of a world leader, right? Wrong, because what happened next had absolutely nobody prepared. So there they are, about to step onto the tarmac like they've probably done 1,000 times before, when out of nowhere, Brigitte straight up pushes her husband's face away. I'm not talking about a gentle little tap here, people. This was a full-on face shove that happened right there in front of all the cameras and the entire world. The moment it happened, you could practically hear the collective gasp from everyone watching. Security didn't know what to do. The press was probably scrambling to make sure they got it on camera. And Emmanuel? Well, he just stood there, looking like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Within minutes, and I mean literally minutes, this clip was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name it. Everyone was sharing it, remixing it, making memes out of it. The hashtags started trending immediately. Hashtag Macron slap. Hashtag presidential drama. Hashtag Brigitte versus Emmanuel. The internet just went absolutely wild. But here's where it gets even more interesting. At first, the French presidential palace. That's the Élysée Palace for those keeping track. They tried to play damage control. Their first response? Nah, that's fake news. It's obviously a deep fake. Can you believe that? In 2025, their go-to excuse was, it's a deep fake. Of course, that excuse lasted about as long as a TikTok video because everyone had seen it. It was filmed from multiple angles, and there was no way they could keep claiming it was fake. So they had to come clean and admit it was 100% real. Then comes Emmanuel himself. This man really got on camera and said they were just play fighting. Play fighting! Bro, that looked like anything but playing to me. But hey, that's the story they decided to stick with. And honestly, who are we to argue with the President of France, right? The damage was already done, though. By the time they admitted it was real and tried to explain it away, the memes had already taken over. People were making remixes, adding sound effects, creating whole storylines around this one moment. It became less about what actually happened and more about what people thought happened or wanted it to mean. The love story that had everyone asking questions. Now, to understand why this slap hit so differently, we gotta go way back and talk about how these two even got together in the first place. So picture this. It's the 1990s. Emmanuel Macron is just a 15 or 14-year-old kid attending Lycée La Providence in Amiens. He's probably worried about homework, trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life, maybe dealing with typical teenage stuff, you know? Enter Brigitte Trogneau. She's 40 years old. Let that sink in for a second. And she's his drama teacher at the school. So we've got a 14-year-old student and his 40-year-old teacher. The age gap? 26 years. Now, according to the official story, it all started innocently enough. Emmanuel was apparently this super bright kid who was really into literature and drama. Brigitte noticed his talent and started mentoring him. They would have these long conversations about books, theater, philosophy, you know, intellectual stuff. But here's where it gets complicated, and honestly, where a lot of people start raising their eyebrows. This mentorship apparently developed into something deeper over time. We are talking about regular meetings, phone calls, deep conversations that went way beyond what you'd typically expect between a teacher and a student. Emmanuel's parents apparently caught wind of what was happening and were not having it. According to reports, they were so concerned about this relationship that they actually transferred Emmanuel to a different school in Paris to get him away from Brigitte. Can you imagine having to switch schools because your parents are worried about your relationship with your teacher? But, plot twist, distance didn't stop anything. Emmanuel apparently promised Brigitte that he would come back for her when he was older. And guess what? He actually did. Fast forward several years, Emmanuel's now an adult. He's gotten his education, started his career, and true to his word, he came back. They officially got together when he was in his 20s and eventually got married in 2007. Now look, I get it. When he was an adult and they got together officially, that's their business, right? Two consenting adults can do whatever they want, but the whole teacher-student beginning, the age gap, the fact that this connection apparently started when he was just 15, that's what has people talking. Some folks look at this and see this beautiful, unconventional love story that defied all odds and societal expectations. They're like, aw, look at them. True love conquered all. But then you've got other people who are like, hold up, wait a minute. This whole situation is giving me major red flags. And honestly, I can understand both perspectives here. The thing is, this story has been part of their public narrative for years. It's not like they've tried to hide it or pretend it happened differently. Emmanuel has talked about it in interviews. Brigitte has discussed it, and it's been covered in the media extensively. But that doesn't stop people from having opinions about it. And when that slap video went viral, all of this history came flooding back. People started connecting dots, analyzing their relationship, and asking questions like, what's really going on behind closed doors? And is this slap a sign of deeper problems in their marriage? The conspiracy theories that'll absolutely blow your mind. Okay, this is where things get absolutely insane. And I mean like, stranger than fiction. You couldn't make this up if you tried insane. The gender identity theory. First up, we've got what might be the most shocking conspiracy theory of all. There are people out there, and I'm talking about whole online communities dedicated to this, who claim that Brigitte Macron was actually born as a man named Jean-Michel Trognu. Can you even believe that? They're saying that she transitioned from male to female and that the whole thing is some massive government cover-up. According to these theorists, all of her official documents were changed, her history was rewritten, and basically everyone who knew her before is in on this giant conspiracy. The people pushing this theory claim they found evidence in old photos, birth records, and family documents. They analyze pictures of her from different time periods. They look at bone structure, voice patterns, you name it. It's like they've become amateur detectives trying to solve some great mystery. In 2024, two women who were spreading these claims online were actually ordered to pay 8,000 euros in damages for defamation. The courts looked at all the evidence these conspiracy theorists had and basically said, nope, this is all nonsense. The legal reality. Here's what we know for sure from actual court cases and legal proceedings. Multiple courts have looked at these conspiracy theories and ruled them to be false and defamatory. People have been ordered to pay significant damages for spreading these claims. Official records and documentation have been examined by legal authorities and found to be legitimate. But here's the crazy part. Even with court rulings and legal consequences, these theories are still spreading online. It's like some people are so invested in believing them that no amount of evidence to the contrary is going to change their minds. How social media turned everything into a circus. Let me tell you something about the internet in 2025. It can turn literally anything into a full-blown international incident faster than you can say, viral video. And that's exactly what happened with this whole Macron situation. Think about it. We went from a simple moment between a married couple to a global phenomenon with conspiracy theories, court cases, and international news coverage, all because of social media. The meme machine. Within hours of that video dropping, the meme creators were working overtime. I'm talking about remixes with sound effects, slow motion analysis videos, reaction compilations, you name it. The creativity was honestly impressive. But here's where it gets interesting from a social psychology perspective. Each meme, each remix, each reinterpretation was adding another layer to the story. What started as a simple moment was becoming this complex narrative with multiple interpretations depending on who was telling it. Some memes played it for laughs, making it seem like typical married couple behavior. Others made it seem dramatic and serious, like evidence of deep marital problems. And then you had the conspiracy theorists using it as proof of their various theories. The echo chamber effect. Social media algorithms made everything worse by creating these echo chambers where people with similar beliefs just kept reinforcing each other's views. If you believed the conspiracy theories, the algorithm showed you more conspiracy content. If you thought it was all nonsense, you got more debunking content. The result? People weren't seeing the full picture anymore. They were only getting information that confirmed what they already believed, which made everyone more convinced they were right and everyone else was wrong. Traditional media versus social media. What's really fascinating is how differently traditional news outlets covered this compared to social media. The established news organizations were pretty measured in their reporting. They covered the incident, mentioned the conspiracy theories briefly, and generally tried to stick to verified facts. But on social media, it was the Wild West. Anyone could make a video claiming anything, and if it was entertaining or shocking enough, it would get shared thousands of times regardless of whether it was true or not. Some of the most popular videos about this whole situation came from random people on TikTok and YouTube who had zero expertise in French politics, psychology, or journalism, but they were confident and entertaining, so people watched and shared their content. The amplification problem. Here's what really gets me about this whole situation. Social media doesn't just spread information, it amplifies it. A rumor that might have died out in a few days in the pre-internet era can now reach millions of people and take on a life of its own. That slap video wasn't just watched by people interested in French politics. It was seen by teenagers on TikTok, shared in Facebook mom groups, analyzed by political commentators, turned into memes by comedy pages, and discussed by conspiracy theorists. Each group interpreted it through their own lens and added their own spin to it. By the time it had made its rounds through all these different communities, the story had morphed into dozens of different versions, each with its own emphasis and interpretation. The international element. And because we're talking about the President of France, this wasn't just a French story, it became international news. People from countries who might not normally care about French domestic politics were suddenly experts on Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron's relationship. American political commentators were using it to make points about American politics. British tabloids were having a field day with it. Countries that have tense relationships with France were probably loving the drama. It became less about what actually happened, and more about what people could use it to support their existing beliefs or agendas. Political weaponization. Different political groups also used this incident to support their existing agendas. Critics of Macron used it as evidence that he's weak or that his marriage is a sham. Supporters dismissed it as a nothing story blown out of proportion by his enemies. The incident itself became less important than what people could use it to prove about politics, media, society, or whatever point they were trying to make. The bottom line. Separating fact from fiction. Alright guys, we've been on quite the journey here. We started with a viral slap, dove deep into a controversial love story, explored some absolutely wild conspiracy theories, and examined how social media can turn anything into a global phenomenon. So let's cut through all the noise and get to what we actually know for sure, the facts. Yes, Brigitte Macron did slap Emmanuel's face at the airport in Vietnam on May 25, 2025. Yes, their relationship began in an unconventional way when he was her student and she was his teacher. Yes, there's a significant age gap between them, 24 years. Courts have ruled that the conspiracy theories about Brigitte's gender identity are false and defamatory. People have been legally ordered to pay damages for spreading these false claims. The speculation, what the slap really meant in terms of their relationship, whether there's more to their origin story than what's been publicly disclosed, the various political and social interpretations people have attached to these events. What this all shows us, this whole situation is a perfect example of how our current media environment works. A simple moment gets captured on video, spreads like wildfire on social media, gets interpreted through dozens of different lenses, spawns conspiracy theories, ends up in court, and becomes international news. So what do you think? I want to hear from you guys in the comments. What's your take on this whole situation? Do you think the slap was really just playful banter? Or do you think there's more to the story? How do you think we should handle viral moments like this in the future? Peace out, everyone. Thanks for taking this wild ride with me.